The story, of course, that is topping our news bulletin. It's topping, I think, most news bulletins here in South Africa and even around the world. We are still coming to terms with the passing of the mother of the nation, Winnie Madikizela-Mandela. We're continuing our coverage this morning, speaking to as many people as we can, from government to civil society. We are now joined in studio by the Communications Minister, Nomvula Mokonyane. Minister, it's good to have you in studio. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, and condolences to the family and to the broader nation and the world.
Yeah, indeed, and it's not necessarily that you're sitting here as a representative from government. I think you sit here as a friend in mourning. When you got the call, when you heard the news, what was your immediate reaction?
The first call I got was from Zodwa, and she indicated that they were waiting for the bishop. And then the next call I got was from Zinzi, who's also a personal friend and a sister. And that's when I had to leave Kagiso, because I had gone to Kagiso, my own hometown, and I had to then go to Orlando. It was shocking because we wished each other the best for Good Friday. Mama was going to church. I was on my way to church. They finished earlier than us. And she was again a woman of prayer, even on Sunday. And again, being very vibrant and committed to go and praise and worship and be part of the processes of the Passion of Christ.
Yeah, you were one of the very first people at the home when the news came, to be with the family, to send your condolences. How close were you to Mama Winnie?
We've been too close with Mama, too close over years. During our time as COSAS, the formation of COSAS, Mama was very involved in it. The mobilization of young people, the establishment of organs of people's power through our street committees, and when Masisulu, through her work of establishing community-based organizations such as advice centers, such as daycare centers, Mama's responsibility was to channel the militancy of us young people and even incite us and make us to really sustain the militancy. To an extent, when you were in pain, Mama will tell you, this is the right time where you must never show your enemy that you are hating. In fact, it is the time where you must give hope to the others, because you'll then make others to be much more reluctant. We had a mother and daughter relationship, a comrade relationship that would be on one extreme of being angry with one another and tomorrow being too close to one another and even plotting together and sometimes pushing her for her to be the continuous voice and the face of resistance. Yeah. And in those times, she allowed herself to be that symbol of resistance. When Mama left Brentford, through the incitement and organization by COSAS, upon her arrival into the Reef, she had to get into a taxi, and that taxi took her straight to Kagiso at the St. Mary's Convent, where Sister Bernard Ngcobe and other Catholic nuns lived. And that's where we met Mama. Had to also give her the accommodation, and Zinzi followed at that time with no luggage, with nothing, just herself, a polo neck and a duke, and the broad smile. Yeah. Of defiance, the broad smile of hope and courage. And it was also at the time when we had learned about the campaign and the programs for fighting against poverty while she was in Brentford. The formation of Operation Hunger. Remember when Zinzi herself had to work with Operation Hunger, a lot had to be done. Some of the work, the donations were done through the Catholic nuns, and because of the closeness with Sister Bernard, we had to actually make sure that Operation Hunger is supported in Brentford, because Mama arrived there, she was a stranger in that community, but she became a source of inspiration and making sure that people don't go to bed hungry. And Operation Hunger expanded throughout the country because of her own her own commitment and her commitment to fight poverty, to fight inequality, to fight unemployment. Squatter camps, informal settlements, Mama even now used to call them squatter camps. That's where you will find Mama. With a family that she has never met, Mama will go in, and in our culture, she'll become a Mama who will not sit on a chair, but join the widow, join the mother who's grieving, and be part of taking
Absolutely.
the grief, taking off the pain from you. And that's what she has done with me twice when the house was bombed, my home was bombed. The first time she was the first to arrive. The second time she arrived with Babu Walter Sisulu, and she was saying, "Nitisitini," when things are like this. But the most important thing was what she said. Women must never give up.
Yeah.
You have to fight, and they will get you where it matters most. Now they've attacked your home, and it then became worse when I lost my son. Mama lifted me from the morning bed, where she actually said, "You have to rise. You have to rise and give your son the best of the send-off." And she stayed with us. In fact, we're talking about it even yesterday and today at home with my husband, that she stayed and she wanted to take over the running around with me, releasing her car. And that time I was already a premier, but it was Mama who came in to be a mother. She was defiant both in the movement and outside, especially on a thing that she would not be in agreement with, because she wanted to make sure that the movement doesn't lose touch with the emotions of the broader society. She brought many of us together, but Tabile used to travel all the way from Natal Midlands to Soweto in her shots. Sisisi Tolashe from the Eastern Cape, the border region, Maristela Sekhwale from Limpopo that time, which was Northern Transvaal, Pinky Muloyi from the Western Transvaal. Fikile Mbalula was the little boy who also came to know Mama at a very tender age. Ace Makashule, the two Mahule boys, Ace and Thabo Manyoni, were like the twins from Tuma.
So it's quite incredible to hear the history of the ANC members now and our leaders now, and the relationship that they had with Mam Winnie. But what I think what really stood out was, even to now, to the bitter end, Mam Winnie was the conscience of the ANC, because we saw, and I think you can attest to it, I mean, we saw at Nasrec, we saw towards the end of last year the divisions forming within the ANC. But it was that moment at Nasrec during the elective conference when Mam Winnie walked into that room that everybody stood up and cheered in one voice, and she was the one that brought everyone together. It's a big loss for the ANC.
Mama would disrupt anything that tends to undermine the unity of the ANC, and she will use herself as a symbol of unification, because even going to Nasrec, all the hopefuls were actually given courage by Mama, because she understood the internal processes of democracy in the ANC. But once the leadership was elected, she was 100% behind the elected leadership, and hence she actually hosted them over lunch, and that's Mama for you. Mama was even at a time when the ANC had to take action against her, she never thought of leaving the African National Congress, both as a minister, even when she was a leader of the ANC Women's League here in the PWV, and when she was a national leader of the ANC Women's League and the president. But what is of importance is that she's a real symbol of resistance within and outside of the African National Congress, which is an embodiment of a true revolutionary. But Liana would not also, just as a woman, miss this opportunity to say, and a married woman, to say, Mama has actually given her all, including her marriage life. And one of the things that she had also said in one of her interviews was to say she has been an unmarried married woman because of the system, but her determination made her not to feel the pain and regret. And secondly, when we remembered, when we're all called by her and telling us that hey, Madiba is coming back, and she was at home with a big pot full of samp, because she's a good cook. She's a good cook, Mama, and there would always be a pot, just like Wama Sisulu. There's a pot of something to eat for
ready
everybody.
To welcome people for something to eat.
And then she just decided she went to go and check the pot, and she was stirring the pot, with a big wooden spoon. And as she was stirring the pot, she then stopped stirring the pot. And she started singing, Ibambe, Niweba Fan. And we went, all of us, to the kitchen, and the pot was burning.
Amazing.
And as the pot was burning, Mama said, and we're saying, Imbiziacha, Mama. Lily and Mom's story were the ones who were actually saying to her, Zamis Imbiziacha. And she said, the pot should rather burn and women move out to go and free this country.
Wow.
I think it was an interesting moment when you reflect on it, and even about mobilization of women into underground work. We would be sent and be made to do things that today I can't believe that we have done because of her determination and what she has been able to do. And she would actually stand up and say, I want my girls from the reef, you smart ladies, to also show that smart as you are, you
Amazing.
can actually carry an operation. And that's when we started the song about Gole, Johannesburg, and she will sing her lungs out. Come 1994, Mama was again the one who, through song, was singing Ayatu Mama Kosigazi, Angenile Parliament. And when she sings through song, you could see that's how she was getting fulfillment of her convictions. But the most important thing that I also want to say, she was a human being.
Absolutely.
She loved God.
And down to earth and loved people.
She loved God, she feared God, and she was a God-loving person.
And that was very important. Minister, as I wrap this up, and I do need to ask you this, however, we know that she has been accorded a state funeral. It'll be happening on the weekend, but do we know what kind of state funeral, what level state funeral is yet?
Yes, Leanne, the President has issued a directive to government and shared with the nation last night. And what would be happening, there's a meeting with the family today at 10 o'clock, and all the details that have to do with the status of the funeral will be shared there. But briefly, just to say, it will be a category where she's been given full military service, honor, as well as the nation being called to mourn, and those who are our friends also to join us in mourning. And the President is the chief mourner, representing the family, the nation, and the world.
Thank you so much for talking to us. And quite coincidental as well that the year of her passing happens to be the centenary year and the year dedicated to her late husband, Nelson
To her
Mandela.
Late husband and to Mama
Quite
Sisulu.
incredible. And Mama Sisulu.
And Mama
That's amazing.
Sisulu. They are the last march of the women's movement before 1994 elections. They marched together with Masisulu against the advice of the leadership of the African National Congress, and Mama got detained, and Masisulu was called by the leaders, and Masisulu said, if men are not prepared, leave these issues to us. When there was a heightened violence against our communities, they led us. We were all kept in John Foster, and Masisulu was called by the leadership to say, you guys, you can't do this because there are negotiations. And Mama said, leave it to us, women will carry it.
Thank you so much, Minister, for talking to us here on the program. Our Communications Minister, Nomvula Mokonyane, talking to us about her memories of Mum Winnie Madikizela-Mandela. Let's take a break.